Alright guys, welcome back to another trade recap. In this video I want to go over 3 things that enabled us to capture nearly a 7-point move trading snap put options expiring this week. Number 1 was the setup. This setup was a squeeze play right here. Number 2 is the mindset going into the trade and after. And number 3 was execution itself. As usual, I like to do a top-down analysis. So we begin with the daily chart. Sometime after earnings, we gap up nearly 10 points. Typically, after a huge gap up like this, we expect some sort of continuation up to the upside. Unfortunately, for this ticker as Snap, we went into a range for approximately 2 weeks with 1, 2, 3, 4 failed attempts to get above the 78 mark and a failed attempt at the 80 mark. Which then allows us to start creating a thesis for this other trading range, which is within a larger trading range right here. One thing that I love about trading ranges is that they yield directional moves, which can be very, very beneficial to options traders because in options we seek for those directional moves to catch the most out of option premiums. So let's take a look at the price action closer to the day of the breakout itself. We'll take a look at the 30-day, 30-minute, kind of interpret the market structure. We can see here that we get an impulse. We get that second impulse that is typically comes around that first one, which also yields a lower high, which is right there. After that second impulse, you should start looking for even stronger momentum. However, in the case of Snap, it never came around, and in fact, it stayed in a tighter range between the 73 and the 76 mark. One thing about ranges is you've got to start asking yourself, why is the stock not advancing? And one thing we know about the fall in prices of a stock is they typically begin with very low demand, and then the panic comes after that low demand. So multiple rejections, strong moves down every time that it touches that 76 mark are just a few of the bearish confirmations that I had to start building a position on Friday. In fact, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, while it was happening, I understood that this to me was nothing more than just a pullback into that 76. During this price action, I see no signs of bullish aggression. So to me, it was just a pullback that I was getting ready to short. Most of Friday, I built a position of 7 puts for the 74 strike expiring this week, anticipating a squeeze to the downside. Also because the previous week we had a down week, so we had that bearish momentum coming from the prior week, which I expected to carry over into this week. I will admit that I was a little bit concerned in that gap up over the weekend, and I was ready to execute and cut this for a loss if I needed to, if it went above 77. But if price did not get there, I was going to stay in the position. And fortunately for myself, we caught very strong momentum at the opening, which allowed me to stay in the trade and scale out. So on this day, we scaled out out of 7 put contracts, and we're still writing out 2 to see if we can maximize the gains on those. Right here, we scaled out roughly 4 of them right there, and then another 3 at that mark. So got out on most of that leg down, and we exited for an average price of $295 per contract. netting us $1,200 in locked in profits on this day. Um, Overall, this trade was very, very successful simply because we recognized the setup, we positioned ourselves before the actual trade itself, which enabled us to capture most of the move. Number two is we were ready to exit for a loss if needed, and we were ready to stay in the trade if we got the confirmation to stay inside of it. And number three was the execution itself, which makes up more than 75% of my trading is the execution, and we did that very well this in this trade. And so because of those three things, that is why this trade was successful. So if you guys find any of these three things to be beneficial or have given you some sort of insight that can help your trading, then you guys, leave a comment, give a thumbs up, or maybe ask any questions if you guys have them. And we'll be sure to go over them in some of the following videos.